Absolutely. Hi there, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Wishes as per your time zone. In our previous session, we spoke about situational leadership and a brief overview and a brief history about how it came into being.
Right.
What's in store today?
Let's take a little bit more deeper dive into situational leadership and try and understand what this is all about and why is it so effective, in today's world, right? Think about a situation or think about something that you are really good at today. Think about an activity that you're really good at today.
Making videos.
Okay, great. That's making videos. That's a task, right? That's an activity that Ayaz is really good at today. What do you feel when you're given the task of making a particular video? What do you feel in terms of your motivation towards that and your competence levels towards that?
Okay, good question. In terms of the motivation levels, if a task is given to me
on this particular task, which is making a video,
right? So it's okay. I'll talk about specifically about this task, about making a video.
Yes.
But this is generally the approach which I take in general.
No, sorry to cut you. But basically, let's stick to this.
Okay.
What do you feel on this particular task? If I were to tell you that, hey, Ayaz, I need to make a video.
Okay.
Right? What do you immediately feel towards it? Do you feel motivated enough to take up the task?
Yes, absolutely. Very
and
much.
do you feel confident enough in your competency to do it?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, that means you're high on your motivation and your competence.
Yeah.
So these are the two. Essentially, these are the two factors that one needs to take into account when you're determining what kind of a situation and what kind of a leadership style that you need to engage with.
Oh,
Now, let me take you back in time.
Okay.
Right. On this particular task, keeping to making videos as the task.
Okay.
There must have been a time when you first began, right? What were your competencies and your motivation levels when you first began? And over time, how has it changed?
If I have to take my left hand as a competency and my right hand as motivation, it was here at the beginning.
Right.
Okay. With time, this has been here, or maybe it has gone higher, and competency has.
Perfect. So that's what happens always. As I said, competency or motivation, it kind of goes like a balance. It keeps fluctuating. Now, you take, and that's the reason why this is so important that a person is judged or evaluated on a particular task, not as a whole. Now, if I were to judge Ayaz or evaluate Ayaz as a person as a whole, I will not take this yardstick as situational leadership because, as the name indicates, it is situational in nature. Every situation is different, and when I say situation, keeping in mind the professional environment, the workplace environment, a situation here means a task.
Okay. So
or a particular goal that you need to achieve.
Okay. So in that case, let's say the task is the same, making a video. But if I have to understand it correctly, so let's say the task is the same, but the situation in which I'm doing the task is different.
No. A situation, as I said, a situation is equivalent to a task. The task is making a video.
Right.
That remains constant. So, okay, let me give you another example, right?
Okay.
Let me give you a personal example. So years ago, let me rephrase. Today, I'm an accomplished rappeler or a rock climber.
Okay.
I can scale down, I can rappel down a rock or a cliff side of any height.
Okay.
I'm an expert in that. So I know things like how do I harness, how do I do a carabiner, and so on and so forth. How do I tether a rock, so on and so forth. All those things, the safety part of it, the technical part of it. How do I climb down? I'm an expert so that I can teach others how to rappel down a rock face, irrespective of the height. Right?
Interesting.
So that means my competence level today on a rock climbing or rappelling is up here, and so is my motivation.
Right. Okay.
Right? Because I know I'm good at it and I enjoy doing it. My level of motivation and competence are high. Now, if I were to go back, let's say 7 years ago, when I first came across a rock, when I first was exposed to rappelling, right? The first time I ever stood on top of a 100-foot drop precipice and I looked down. Right? Of course, I was scared.
True.
My motivation was high because this is something exciting.
Right.
It's an adventure sport. I really felt excited doing it. So my motivation level to do it was high. But my competency was way down there. I didn't know how to do it.
Right, true.
Right?
Yeah.
And then I did my first rappelling successfully.
Mm-hmm.
My competency went up slightly.
Right.
I did my second one, went up slightly more.
Right.
But then what happened on the third and fourth time? My instructor took me to a higher elevation.
Right.
It took me to a 300-foot precipice. It's called Devarayana Durga in Karnataka. It's a 300-foot precipice.
Mm-hmm.
The technical aspects of it changes slightly.
Okay.
So there's some relearning, unlearning and relearning to do to tackle a higher height.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
So what happened? My motivation came down.
Slightly dropped, yes.
Although my competency was slightly there, slightly higher, but my motivation came down. In other words, I was not really willing to do that.
Although you could do it.
Maybe, maybe not. I don't know, right?
Right.
So my motivation fell down,
Mm-hmm.
right? But although I had done that, the rappelling task before, but then motivation came down when I presented with a new challenge. And then the same thing happened. I did that the first time, so my competency levels increased, my motivation also increased.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
And on it went. So higher the elevation, the motivation levels kept on fluctuating because I realized the difficulties involved in it. But the competencies kept on increasing gradually.
Gotcha. Okay.
Today, I've arrived at a point where my motivation and competency levels both are at a high level. Right? So this can be applied, this can be factored into any of your personal or professional, life, work life. When you're faced with a new task, when you come across a new task, when a manager calls you in and says that, hey, Ayaz, listen, this is something that I want you to take on as an added responsibility. You may not know anything about how to do it, but then your motivation is high because you're interested in getting it done.
Right. True.
Then you start taking your first steps into the new task, your motivation level falls because then you realize the difficulties involved in that new task. You need to unlearn, you need to relearn, there's a lot of things involved, your motivation levels fall. So you say, hey, you know what, this looks more difficult than what I thought it would be, so I'm really not cut out for it.
True, yeah.
But then you get a good mentor, your manager knows situational leadership, so he uses a very apt situation leadership model to guide you. So your competency levels increases, but your motivation levels keeps on fluctuating.
Right.
But you keep on doing it.
Right.
There comes a time when you're at an all-time high on both competency and motivation, and then your leader says, you know what, you are right now an expert in this. I'm going to ask you to mentor a person who's new in this role.
Understood. So it's about identifying the levels, getting them into a state of equilibrium,
Absolutely.
and then nurturing them to remain there.
Perfect. You hit the nail on the head when you said that you need to identify what level your person, your colleague or your co-worker is as a manager. If I'm managing Ayaz and I know that he's new to a particular role and he's displaying a very high motivation level, but I know that he is not competent enough.
Right.
So as a leader, I need to deploy the appropriate leadership style with them.
Understood.
I cannot delegate it to Ayaz saying that, you know what, this is a new task, so you go out and learn and do it by yourself. No, that will not work. I need to handhold him. I need to tell him how to do it. Right? And then get him up to the next level of competency.
Gotcha.
And then observe his motivation levels. Is it down? Is it up? Is it fluctuating? If it is down, I need to coach him. Right? It is called telling, selling, participating, and delegating. These are the 4 leadership styles that I need to deploy as per the situation in which Ayaz is in terms of his motivation and competency levels.
Gotcha. Wow. That was a detailed insight. It was really wonderful. It was an eye-opener.
Right, and in many cases where leadership fails, it's because people, leaders, they fail to identify accurately as to what level the person whom they're supposed to be managing.
Right.
They either incorrectly deduce the motivation levels or the competency levels, or they incorrectly deploy a wrong leadership style onto let's say if Ayaz is at D1, what we call as a situation level D1, and if I deploy a leadership style which is S4 onto him, that will be a mismatch, it will never work.
Yeah, absolutely. So, to sum it up, leadership is not about leading from the front, but it's about enabling a person to become an effective leader.
Absolutely.
It's about you taking the backstage and pushing. So, folks, that was an interesting and beautiful insight about situational leadership and its working. What are your thoughts? What are your views? Are you using something like this in your organization or in your work? If yes, wonderful. If not, need help, feel free to reach out to us. Stay tuned for the next. Do not forget to leave your comments and feedback. Take care.